Hello, everyone. So my name is Jakyra Simpson, aka Kai the Chemist, and I am the CEO and founder of STEAM Sneakerheadz. Now, for those who are unfamiliar, just to kind of cover what STEAM is, right? So that covers science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And I'm using these various disciplines to introduce science to students, specifically using sneaker culture. Now, a little bit about who I am. So I am officially, as of 2 months ago, a master chemist. I received my bachelor's of chemistry pre-pharmacy with double minors in math and biology from Indiana University. And then later on, I continued my education at Indiana University, where I received my master's in chemistry. And while I was there, I trailblazed a new way to introduce these sciences to students that look like me. And one of those main driving forces was a result of my experiences. So some of the greatest influences that even inspired me to become a scientist was watching Bill Nye the Science Guy every morning, right? But when I got into my classes, and not only within the classrooms themselves, but the material that I was taught, there was a lack of representation in people that look like me. So I embarked on this journey where I rebranded myself as Kai the Chemist, the Black and Filipino version of Bill Nye, okay? And I am continuing on this work. I am also an educator. I serve during the day in the classrooms and then afterwards in an informal space. And then, of course, I am a sneakerhead. Now, what I've created and how my business is structured right now, so it's a service-based model. And I currently offer an education curriculum resource where I developed STEAM sneaker art workshops. So I have two main components. And the first is that I offer a single lesson. This is a mini sneaker workshop. And then I have a 6-session series, right? So I'll cover different aspects of chemistry and STEAM lessons, and then I'll connect those to sneaker culture, and students will go through and do hands-on activities. Now, I'm gonna help to provide some visuals so you guys can see what I'm actually doing. Okay, for example, 1 out of the 6 lessons is we talk about the chemistry of dyes. So I offer a visual component. I also, if applicable, will do a chemistry demo. And then students, are learned and exposed to different concepts and lessons. And then the best part, students are then able to be scientists for the day, right? They get to create different dyes. So in that example, the main differences between 2 different dyes used in our sneaker industry, you have natural and then you have synthetic. So students are actually in the classroom creating both types of dyes. They then get to use these dyes to customize and create their own tie-dye shoelaces. So again, like I explained previously, there are 6 total lessons. At the end of each of these lessons, they walk away with a tangible piece of art. And then at the end of the full series, students are able to connect all the pieces and create and customize their own tangible STEAM sneaker artwork that can go on their walls. To date, I have been able to offer these workshops to over 200 students. When I initially created this material, I designed it for students that are in grades 5 through 12th grade. Recently, I've been working more with elementary students. Also, from the feedback that I collect, I offer surveys both pre and post sessions. There's an 85% retention rate in students being able to understand the concepts that we talked about in the lessons and not only explain them in real-time concepts with the shoes they have on their feet, but also connecting it to the artwork that they're creating. And then most importantly, as a result of the workshops, 90% of students are able to recognize and identify that they see themselves as scientists. Now, I want to be sure to note here that the work I'm doing in terms of sneaker culture and STEAM, it does apply across all cultures. But my targeted and truly emphasis in terms of the community that the impacts this will have on is those from the underrepresented, underserved, and marginalized communities. Now let's talk about the help your girl needs, okay? So right now, again, I'm serving in a service-based model. I am looking to expand that and transition, or expand, we'll say, into a product-based and service-based business where I will be offering STEAM sneaker art workshop kits. And what this will look like is I'll bundle up the curriculum material I've created and have kits that'll be about the size for a classroom to be used. And I will get these implemented in both informal and formal learning spaces. The steps I have already taken so far is I recently found someone who's able to standardize my materials, so that way I can get that in the class during the day. And then also I have sourced the different costs for materials. And right now I'm looking to raise about $15,000. So I am here to seek any insight that anyone has in terms of funding sources. I will be very transparent in that I am not really interested in a loan right now in terms of where I'm at with my business. And then on a sidebar, if anyone has any feedback about this, with those different kits that I'm creating and also with the work that I'm doing over the summer, which is to create commercials and more visuals to help people understand what it is that I'm doing. If anyone has some advice on how I can actually market that to my targeted customers, which are educators. And we're talking educators from the classroom as well as in after school programs in community organizations. So thank you. I'll take any feedback.
If you're not looking for a loan for your business right now, would you be interested in equity investment, or are you looking for philanthropic dollars focused on impact? What's your game?
Great question. So the second option sounds more in alignment with the goals that I have. It's the best I got to answer you right now.
I think that you asked good questions as far as funding and stuff. I have a two-pronged answer. The first one is how to get yourself in front of folks who want to buy your stuff, teacher conferences. Start applying for those ASAP. It's a great way to shop your stuff around and potentially become one of the main speakers of a teacher conference. Teacher conferences are, you can be an exhibitor first. You can move into session. I always say be an exhibitor first. Research the ones that are going to give you the hookup to start. There are a lot will let you present for free if you're a first timer, if you're a woman of color, etc. I can definitely help you with that. Definitely reach out to me for that stuff. I was an educator for not that long. I'm not that old, so I'm just going to say a little while. And then secondly, depending on your business model, did you say this was a LLC?
That is correct. I did not say that, but that right now
I figured so, because most LLC people don't know grant world. And so the first thing I would tell you, if you're looking for non-loan money, you need to open up a nonprofit. You need to have a nonprofit arm of your business so that you can apply for various funding that nonprofits get, so that you can do the philanthropic work of getting these kits to kids at a lower cost and all these different things. And there is a way to do that and have an LLC. Many people do it. So it just depends on what you want your aims to serve and how you want to go about that. The for-profit model for things like this is not going to, I'm going to be real frank with you, from what I see, it's not going to come from you supplying kits. It's going to come from you presenting on yourself, you talking, you writing books, you doing different things like that. Only from what I've seen. I have friends who are educators who have nothing like this, but they're doing work in education spaces. And just the way, as far as from what I've seen, how education spaces are set up, you're going to have a lot more bang for your buck if you have a nonprofit designation, because of all the funding you can apply for to do this work. And you can still pay yourself, and you can still do a lot of things, but it's just different than a for-profit model. But I wouldn't get rid of my LLC. I would keep that, because you're going to also be a lucrative speaker. That can go under your LLC. You're going to be a book. You're going to write books. You're going to do all these other things that are going to support your vision, support your mission.
If you are taking money, you're going to need more money to go to those events. Because I have a friend that's doing it right now. He's going around the entire country. All the ed tech conferences are happening right now. So you're going to need to make sure that you plan those out. I think they happen typically summer, fall. They happen around different education schedules. So you need to look into those. And also, I don't know if nonprofit or profit's the right way to go. But I would really think of now before asking for money in terms of like building the kits of how you're going to market these kits. Like understand, are you selling these to teachers or are you selling these to somebody higher in the Board of Education? Are you selling a program? How are you selling these? Because those are the questions you're going to get asked, and it also means different dollar spend, different budgets, and then you're going to also want to understand the budgets of what needs different approvals at different levels. Because when you're going through the budget systems of this, it's going to be much different as you want to scale up. So I'd hyper focus on that now, because if somebody's going to want to invest money into it, these are the questions that they're going to ask you. And if they're not asking you this, then they're probably not the right investor. So that's just my advice.
So when it comes to forming the company, I know there's LLC and there's nonprofit. Also consider the B Corp model, which will allow you to kind of walk the middle there when it comes to some of the funding possibilities. And also, as you're starting to grow this and figure out and make your kits, start looking into what it takes to manufacture those kits too. And see if you can get somebody to help back you from that point of view so that you can get out there while you're doing the marketing. You don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but with the marketing, but you also want to make sure you're still doing the do and still testing it and practicing it, and test your kits, rearrange your kits, try them again. But definitely consider the B Corp model, because you're definitely doing something that benefits a particular community with intent.
You have several pathways ahead of you. Definitely the nonprofit model is one of them, or the B Corp. Another way to think about what are your ultimate goals. If you want to keep control, when you go nonprofit, you're going to have a board. They ultimately have control. If you want to keep this as your business, there are ways where you can be in partnership with an organization and they can serve as your fiscal agent. And you can be aligned. A lot of organizations are going to support the kind of impact that you're having. And if you can set up those strategic partnerships where the money goes through them, the nonprofits as your agent, they'll get a percentage of it, but you can work out that agreement. But then you can still secure that grant funding to support what you do. So that's just one. I know you have a lot to consider, but one more avenue.
Guy, I love the way you are combining education and bringing kids into the culture of sneakers. I'm an educator of 30 years, so I really applaud what you're doing. My name is Tom Skank, and I'm an entrepreneur like just about everybody in this room. But my question to you is, one of the problems that schools are facing, specifically independent institutions, is they're going out of business. And one of the reasons they've had trouble is they have not been able to find their market niche and work with it, both boarding students, hybrid students, and virtual students. So my question specifically is, I'm assuming that a lot of this is hands-on stuff. You're talking about a kit. What have you done in terms of considering a virtual model as well?
So far, in my head, which has not been yet put in practice, is, especially with the kits, is offering sessions or lessons that would have a virtual component. So in my head, how I was thinking about it is an educator could be a parent who has an at-home student, right? And they purchase a kit available for themselves in a smaller scale versus for the classroom. And then everyone can hop online and do the lesson together. And then also for the curriculum resource, that'll be offered in a digital format itself. And then don't forget those lessons and videos that I'll have with that educational component.
I know that you are you got this vision and you are executing on your vision, right? And I want to make sure that as you're moving through the world, you know what you're up against, right? You know the school system, you've been in it, you've handled administration, you know how challenging what you're proposing is. And I know that from talking to you. And what's, in my opinion, going to be very important as you're doing that is constantly responding and allowing yourself to be flexible to what's being said back to you when you're starting to get into those administrative meetings with folks, because you have such a clear, strong vision and the ability to pull that out. And sometimes I think when we get in that space where we're this is the idea, this is the revolutionary new thing, sometimes there needs to be flexibility in what your end product ends up actually being. If that makes sense, right? And so my thought was, did someone ask for kits, right? Did someone, is that a need that you saw and now you're filling? Is it a need that came from other people? Or is it Kai, think there should be kits, right? And I think that's just a really important question to continually ask yourself as you get along. And you probably are because you're very fucking smart. But, oh, sorry. Do we have editing on the live stream? And so I think that constantly sourcing feedback from the people that it's going to on how they're going to execute it. The other part that I was thinking is, have you considered like, you know, curriculum development and then selling it to, you know, I guess that assimilates you into the same system that you're kind of trying to break here. But it could be a potential route, like teaming up and like selling your idea and what you have to someone larger that actually already is in that distribution within school models.
A few other alternate forms of funding include you could go for what is essentially program-related investment from a foundation. So structured as a forgivable loan. That is possible to do with for-profits if there is a defined impact that could be the result. So always a possibility there. It's not a straight grant unless you achieve some measurable impact. Additionally, there's a type of financing that functions like a loan, but it's called revenue-based financing. There are a couple different providers. There's a model specifically that you don't pay back until your income gets above a certain threshold as a person, not as a business. Some are directly as a business, whatever, percentage of your profits. And as you become more profitable, it takes a higher percentage until it's totally paid off, and then you're good to go. So like actually the more you earn, the better it is to pay it off faster for everyone involved. It's a good thing. And then another thing you could do is actually work with someone who doesn't take equity in your business, but owns the first $15,000 worth of kit. And then you do a revenue share on the sales of those $15,000 worth of kit. They would take most of the profits, but you'd be able to get a seed fund out of that and, work on the process of sales and get that investor aligned with the goal of making sure all of the product that they own sells.
Okay, thank you.